So let me just ask you, you're pretty young. You know, you look pretty young, at least. And I know you well enough to know that you are young in heart and also in age. I don't see many people doing the type of work that you do in appraising, you know, your age.
Yes.
How did you come into this so young, and what would you do to encourage other young people to pursue this?
I think that I began to really be open to explore pursuing the dream in my heart. I think that the Lord put that dream there, and to not be fearful to pursue that dream, and definitely the support from my husband that allowed me the freedom to pursue this full-heartedly, but to pursue the dream in your heart and to not think that you're too young to learn. And so you're absolutely right. Typically, you're gonna find that the age of those in this industry is quite a bit older, and there is a desire within the field to bring younger people into a knowledge about it. And I think an issue is that they don't even know that this type of work exists, that it's out there to do, that you can get paid to look at people's artwork. I get paid to do something I enjoy doing. Wow,
that's incredible. Well, if you don't mind, I would like for you to show us a demonstration of a piece that you appraise. Would that be okay?
That would be great.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to allow Janice to show us this unique piece. Don't go away.
Hello, my name is Janice Lee, and I'm an appraiser in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. My specialty is residential contents. It's also known as a generalist. And what that means is that when I come into a home, I'm appraising the items that you typically find in a home. That would be the chair that you sit in, the table that you sit at, clocks, glass, the plates that you eat off of, and the silverware that you eat from. Today I'm going to talk to you about the story behind this piece. I was very excited when I received a phone call from a museum in Philadelphia that was going to be acquiring a piece of work that needed to be appraised for donation. When I received the images on that piece, they were a dark object carved, and I needed to begin to do the research to find out more about the item. I was very intrigued to find that the item was actually sculpted from coal. And as I began my research to find out more about this artist, I found out that Charles Edgar Patience was an African-American sculptor, and that his career began in a coal. And that intrigued me even more. For someone to look at an object that I would perceive to be dirty, and even out of the mundane, everyday work of his life, he was able to look at coal and bring forth a beautiful object and piece of artwork from those pieces. And thus began my adventure and my understanding of who he was as an artist. I was able to come into contact with his daughter, who has written a book on him, and it's entitled Anthracite Coal Art by Charles Edgar Patience. I was able to make an appointment with her and sit down and speak with her about the artwork done by her father. And let me tell you, it was fascinating to find out that this artist's beginning was a family business, that it was something that his father did, that he did, and that this artwork evolved into the piece that you see here. It started with something as simple as these items that you see here. These charms were just an example of the pieces that his family did and sold as a business. And Mr. Patience began to distinguish himself as an artist as he began to do more work in coal. He moved from pieces such as the ones that you see to the larger piece that we have here, the sculpture that is entitled Dolphin, and it is an abstract piece. And I can remember when I saw this piece, I thought to myself, I couldn't believe that it was a piece of coal. Amazing. It reminded me of Shona stone carvings, which are done in stone. And his pieces also included larger examples, such as the one that domes the front of this book, of an altar that was carved out of coal. And this altar is still in existence in a church up in Pennsylvania today. The other fascinating thing about Mr. Patience is that his artwork went on to be obtained and held in collection by not only museums, but in private collections, collections such as those by President Jimmy Carter and Lady Bird Johnson. How do I identify a piece of work done by the Patience family? One of their signature forms is an example in this box. It is of the heart shape with the leaves in etching around the heart. In closing, I'd like to read an excerpt from his daughter's book where she talks about artwork done by her father. Recently, a close family friend showed me a coal heart she had spied and purchased at a yard sale in New Jersey. Being the only person there who knew what the black stone was, she was curious to learn if it were my father's work and was anxious for my opinion. Once my eyes landed on the 4 small leaves etched on the heart, I knew it was a Patience work. As an appraiser, Mr. Patience's artwork is very significant. If I were to receive a call from a client, I would want to understand the need for an appraisal. In this particular case, if it were for donation, I would be looking at market values and fair market value. Or if the collector wanted to keep the piece in the home and possibly insure it against damage and loss, I would begin to do market search on replacement values. So I hope that you're as intrigued as I was about the artwork of Charles Edgar Patience, and that you'll keep your eye open as you're out there looking around, because you never know, you may come across one of his pieces.
Janice, that was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for gracing us with your expertise there. I was going to ask you, on that particular piece, how did you come about picking that as one of your examples of appraising?
I think I was very touched by the legacy that Juanita Moss, the daughter, wants to capture in her father's artwork. And so whenever I have an opportunity to speak, I just thought, wow, a lot more people should know about how he's contributed to not only African American legacy, but just art in general as an artist. And so I was very excited to be able to talk about that piece and share it.
Wonderful. That's great. Now, you had mentioned that for most of your work, it involves a lot of estate planning.
Yes.
Because people do leave homes and items within the home that needs appraising. Okay. So let's say, for instance, I was to hire you as an estate planner. You know, what is the first thing that you actually do with your clients?
Okay. Well, I would be coming in probably to give you a consultation and to talk about the items in the estate. I think the first thing I would tell you as a client is, do you want any particular pieces to go to specific children? I think sometimes people don't think about that. Or even if your children aren't interested in the pieces, would you like to leave them as a legacy to a grandchild or a great-grandchild? Is this a piece that you want to remain in the family and be handed from person to person to person? Right. And so oftentimes with appraising, there's this fine line in the value of the piece versus sentimental value. Yes. Now, as appraisers, we take into consideration both values, and sometimes the client's sentimental value to them is much larger than the actual monetary value of the piece. And so a lot of times in working with people, I'll say to them, well, if it means that much to you, say, for example, if they're looking to liquidate items in an estate and sell them off, I'll say, well, maybe you should hold on to that piece because it's not going to bring the monetary value that you're hoping for. Wow. And so I would counsel them to begin to look at the items, think about which things they would like to keep, which things they would like to pass down in their family, and then at that point, maybe they want to donate to an institution. Okay.